Someone woke up with an attitude.
Cancel culture is canceled.
You know what woke means? It means you're a loser.
Why do you think you haven't been cancelled yet? I don't know. What's being cancelled?
Wake up.
And welcome back to Episode 3 of the WokeWhatCancelThis podcast. And this time around, we're going to be talking about wokeism in public schools, what's being taught to our children, are teachers to blame, is the government to blame, and what better person to talk to than Lori Korzen. Lori ran for state representative here in New Hampshire. She does a lot of work out in the community. Hello, Lori.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Great.
All right. So you know as well as I do that this wokeness, this wokeism that is starting, actually, it's been infiltrating our schools, is becoming more of, and I hate to use the word, the norm nowadays. It's actually, and I found this kind of interesting, wokeness has actually become the new politically correct term. What do you think about that?
I think that is crazy. It's funny because when I went out and looked for what woke meant, I found a few places that actually said that white people should not be using the word woke because it's cultural misappropriation.
Uh-huh.
And yet it has become a new buzzword that everybody's using.
It's really sad. And of course, the woke ideology is basically, they're saying that this is causing us to open our eyes. Being woke means that your eyes are open to racism, all of that information. Do you think that that is an excuse, just, that it's opening our eyes and being part of this racism movement and everything else in between? Or do you think it's something that's more along the lines of a hidden agenda?
So when I was researching wokeness, I learned that it started by a speech by Martin Luther King in 1965, where he was encouraging Black activists to remain awake and alert to social injustice, something that I completely agree with.
Right.
He was basically asking people to, look for things in society that aren't right so that we can fix them. Unfortunately, what's happened today is that everything is racist. And when everything becomes racist, it takes away from the word. I really believe that it is part of the bigger Marxist agenda. I know I'm going to sound crazy saying that, but it has its pillars in the Marxist agenda where, society is to blame for everything wrong in the world. And it takes away individual responsibility. It takes away individual decisions and effort and how hard someone works. The term in general is really, it's bad for everybody. It's bad for Black people. It's bad for white people. It has become a word that the social justice warriors use as an excuse to be mean to anyone who doesn't go along with their agenda.
Exactly. And if you don't go along with it, then next thing you know, you're canceled, you're a bad person, you lose your job, you're out
Absolutely.
in the cold. And it really sucks.
It does suck. So even in my run for state rep, people would hear that I was a conservative and I was automatically termed a racist. People in my own community said that, I was racist and homophobic and, all because I said that I don't believe that we need to help Black people. I believe Black people are perfectly capable of doing everything that white people are capable of doing.
Exactly. And
yet that labeled me as racist, which is crazy in and of itself, because my husband and I, we've done foster care for years and years. We adopted 2 boys outside of our race. My grandson, who I love more than life itself, is a little beautiful Black child who I know is fully capable of doing everything his white counterparts can do without any help.
And he's so cute. I've seen the pictures on Facebook. He is adorable.
Good. He is such a love.
Now, one of the things that we're talking about on this episode is wokeness in school. Do you fear for your grandson in school?
Oh boy, every day. I fear for what he's being taught, what he's being exposed to. I fear that he's being led into this ideology, this Marxist ideology. He's learned, our kids today in school, we're the only country who teach our kids that they should be ashamed of their country. That's not right.
No, and ashamed of their country, ashamed of where they're from, ashamed of their race. Why? Why, oh, why would we be teaching this to our kids?
Exactly. And then we wonder why our kids are so depressed and need so much help. We're literally sending them into a public school where they're learning that they're either oppressed or they're an oppressor. Their country is terrible. Their society is terrible. Their parents are just not with the times anymore. Our schools are literally turning our kids against us. And that's scary.
It really is. And learning some of the things that they are teaching kids, I remember going to school in the 80s, and I had a tough time just getting through math and science with some of the subjects. But I think with the woke agenda and what they're teaching kids in schools right now, it's bringing so much pressure on them. And kids are sponges anyway. They're going to take all of this information. They're going to absorb it. And it's like a Vulcan mind meld that these teachers are grabbing a hold of these kids, and you can see them with their fingers on each side of their head saying, you need to believe this. This is the way society is moving, and it scares the hell out of me.
Exactly. And honestly, that's exactly why it's in our public schools. These people, they know that they can't change, us in our 30s, 40s, 50s. So they're targeting these kids to try to change their minds to their ideology. They'll tell these kids how terrible we are, hoping that it's going to rub off on the parents. And they're literally turning them against us.
They literally are. I'm kind of glad I'm nearing the end of my life, even though I'm hoping to be around another, 40, 50 years. But
there you go.
What I'm seeing with these kids in the way that society is going right now, we're literally brainwashing people into this. And if it's not stopped now, it's something that is going to literally take over the world, and we're not too far away from that.
Absolutely. So I think most parents do not understand what's happening in our schools. I think most parents would be up in arms if they found out what their kids are learning. Kids as young as kindergarten are being introduced to the gender unicorn. Are you familiar with the gender unicorn?
No, I don't think I've heard of this one.
So it teaches kids in kindergarten, now these are 5 and 6-year-olds, that their biology means nothing and their feelings are the only thing that matters. I mean, they're introducing terms to our kids like pansexual and introducing them to sexual content as young as 4 and 5 years old, and it's disgusting. We need to protect these kids' innocence. They're not going to be innocent forever. I'm not stupid, but as long as they can be innocent, why are we pushing this on them?
I don't honestly understand the whole reason behind this, because first of all, kids that old or that young don't know anything about sexual orientation. I was reading an article where they actually said that kids know if they're going to be trans while they're inside the womb.
Yes, I've heard that theory.
And I'm like, what all are you guys smoking? Because this doesn't make any sense at all.
Exactly. Basically, when you're talking about the trans community, you're talking about there's like 3 subgroups. There are those who are intersexed, those born with, XY chromosomes, but may have some secondary sex characteristics of the opposite gender. These are the people who are born that way. There's another group who will be very, masculine females or feminine males, and it's apparent right from the start. And then there's this new group, there's this new subgroup of trans kids who are only saying they're trans after they hit puberty and are exposed to this ideology that's so perverse in our world. So, they might say these kids know they're trans in utero, which is absolutely ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But you have 13, 14, 15-year-old girls who all of a sudden claim to be trans.
Right.
But this is a result of the indoctrination in our schools. There are some public school systems where 4 out of 5 girls in a class of 30 or 40 students are now identifying as trans. The statistics are they're alarming.
I don't understand why, all of these people And they just don't understand what's going on. I think one of the biggest things we need to tell parents is that you need to get involved with your school. You need to talk to your kids. You need to make sure they understand exactly what's going on, and to bring, because a lot of kids are afraid to talk to their parents about what's being taught in schools now.
Absolutely.
And a lot of parents believe that there is literally nothing they can do to help this situation. And I was doing some research for the podcast, and I found this pretty interesting, but there are loopholes that parents can actually use to get more involved with what their kids are being taught. There's an act out there. It's called the Protection of Pupil Rights Amendment Request. Have you heard about this?
No, I haven't.
I guess evidently it was first passed in 1974, and it's a powerful legal tool that allows parents to review instruction materials, including curriculum, teacher trainings, without requiring payment, anything like that. And all you have to do is send a simple letter or an email to your school district asking to conduct a PPRA inspection of instruction materials used as part of your child's education.
Wow, that's interesting.
It is really cool. And if a school refuses to let you inspect your child's instruction materials, you can actually file a PPRA complaint with the United States Department of Education. So that's good. And then if
that's great.
I know. And if the Department of Education refused to fail or act, you can actually sue the department.
Wow. I will definitely be looking into that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you know of the current bills here in New Hampshire, but all over the U.S. right now, the Parental Bill of Rights.
Okay.
So people are fighting to have a Parental Bill of Rights because schools are now taking it upon themselves to keep secrets from the parents.
Right.
So if a child goes to a teacher and says, this is a common cry for most 12, 13-year-old girls. I was right there with them. I hate my body. It's right that prepubescent age where nothing feels right. Nothing seems right.
Yep.
And you have these activists who will say, have you thought maybe you're trans? Maybe if you were to transition, you might feel better in your body.
Oh, dear God.
In schools today, that teacher can take the steps to help this child transition legally. They can change their pronouns. They can change their name. And all of this is under Title IX being hidden from parents. And so what the Parental Bill of Rights does is it puts power back into the parents' hands. The parents have a right to know what is happening with their kids in the school. I know that for me, when I was sending my kids to public school, I was trusting that they weren't cutting me off at the knees in school.
Right.
Parents today can't do that.
Yeah,
it's really scary.
It is, and honestly, you can't trust anything going on at school right now without knowing, because they're trying to silence parents. They're trying to tell these kids who they should be, what sex they should be, who they should believe. And another thing I think that drives me crazy is the fact that teachers are pushing their own personal feelings, their beliefs, their opinions onto these kids.
Yes, absolutely.
Instead of going by facts. I didn't have a teacher that said, the Revolutionary War was bad for everybody around, and this is the way that things should have been based on my opinion. It's like, no, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear facts.
Exactly.
And no parent should have to find out second or third hand that, my kid just changed their gender identity in school. Wait, what?
Yes, exactly.
And how long's that been going on? A year, and you didn't let me know about it?
Yes.
There's no way that should ever happen.
That is exactly what's so crazy. I mean, it's kind of like if a student goes to school and says that they're feeling suicidal, and that teacher doesn't let the parents know, that teacher is responsible for whatever happens with that child.
Right.
They're okay with that. Our public schools right now are okay cutting the parents completely out of the equation. And it's not right.
No, it isn't. Parents should have a say in what their kids are being taught.
Yes.
They should have a say in the curriculum that's being given to our children.
Yes.
Anything out of the norm. If it's math,
Yes.
science, stuff like that, I get it. There are general studies out there. But
Yep.
anything that's involving sex education, choosing your gender, nothing like that should be pushed onto a child, especially a kindergartner.
Exactly.
Because, number one, they're too young. They don't need sex education in kindergarten. They don't even need it in first, second, or third grade.
Exactly.
Wait a while.
Exactly.
Let a kid be a kid. And that's one thing that we're failing our children on right now, is that they have to grow up faster now anyway. But we're
Yes.
not even giving them the ability to be a child.
Exactly. We are robbing them of the magic of childhood, honestly.
It
I mean,
really is.
we're turning them into social justice warriors. You know, some of them are graduating, they can't even read or write at a proficient level.
Exactly.
Just this week, here in New Hampshire, you know, one of the representatives who was a school superintendent for a long time was arguing against the state forcing school systems to teach handwriting and the multiplication tables. To me, that's why you send a child to school. How are they supposed to sign their name on documents if they don't know how to, you know, sign their name?
Right.
You know, we're replacing multiplication tables and handwriting with all of this woke indoctrination. You know, we're telling kids, oh, if you're white, you're an oppressor. If you're black, you're oppressed.
Mm-hmm.
It's not right. Teach them how to read. Teach them how to think critically. Teach them that not everything they read is true.
Exactly.
Teach them how to research the opposite side of the story. Our schools are not doing that.
No. And there are so many more things that we should be teaching our kids than this woke agenda, than this critical race theory.
Absolutely.
They need to be able to figure out basic life skills. I mean, heck,
Yes.
bring back, cooking in school, home economics.
Absolutely.
Teach kids how to balance a checkbook.
Exactly.
Because I would have loved to have been able to learn that when I was in school.
Yes.
But
If they knew how to balance a checkbook, maybe they wouldn't be taking hundreds of thousands of dollars out for student loans because they would understand the implications of that.
oh God, that is so true. So
right?
true.
I don't understand.
And I found another thing that was pretty interesting. At least 300,000 public school teachers and other staff left the field between February 2020 and May of 2022. We are losing
Wow.
our teachers left and right because you've got all these people that are in school saying, all right, I'm going to teach the way I want to teach. And the
Yes.
teachers that have been there for years that are sitting there saying, wait a minute, I don't want to teach kids this garbage,
Yes.
are leaving in droves.
Yes, absolutely.
And then what happens from there? We end up with packed schools, packed classrooms, kids that don't get the one-on-one help that they need. And that in itself is depressing.
Exactly. So I was sharing with you earlier that according to one research study, 75% of conservatives feel as though they need to self-censor. They self-censor. They need to stay silent in conversations because of the woke radical left who are going to just slam them or cancel them or make life unbearable for them. We do have good public school teachers out there
Right.
who really truly care about our kids, and they truly do want to teach our kids. But a lot of them are feeling like they can't express their own views. They can't express, that America is a great nation. Yes, we've made our mistakes. We've learned from them. We've tried to rectify them. But our teachers don't feel safe, expressing themselves.
No.
And that's when our teachers are scared of the woke mob, how are our little kids supposed to fight against it?
Exactly.
I know many parents who say that, they're keeping their kids in public school to fight against it. our kids shouldn't have to fight against it. We should be, we as parents and grandparents, as aunts and uncles, we should be fighting against it for them.
And that's absolutely true. You know, right now, the only thing our kids should have to worry about is learning in public school.
Yes.
They should get the basic education that they need. They should be able to move on to college without having a fear of having to be quiet, of being canceled. Our teachers should be able to teach what is on the books, not opinion, not critical race, not woke agenda. Yes, I do believe that people should be wary of being racist and all of that stuff.
Yes, absolutely.
But we should not be weaponizing any of this, going after people or anything along that lines. If people do something wrong, we should be able to stand up and say, you know what? That's wrong. That's incorrect.
Absolutely.
We shouldn't have to worry about being taken down a peg or two or completely lose everything we've ever worked for, our home, our job, or whatever, just for sticking up for what is right.
Absolutely. I mean, I have to be completely honest. When you first asked me about doing this podcast, the first thought in my mind was, you know, if I say something wrong, that's how they're going to label me. I'll never be able to work with anyone again in this city or this. And it's scary because you know that is the truth. I mean, I could say one thing out of line and they'll just run with it. They can twist things. And it's a scary time to be alive and have a different viewpoint than what we're supposed to have.
Exactly. And you know what? We're in the U.S. We're not in communist China.
Yes.
We are allowed to voice our opinion. We are allowed to speak our mind. And you know what? I mean, we're not going to make everybody happy. And
yes.
I know, you know, when I first come up with the name for this podcast, my wife was sitting there saying, really? And I'm like,
yes.
But here's the thing. If we keep quiet, if we don't stand up, if we don't voice our opinion, then we become silenced. We become that third world country. We become Russia. We become China. And this is the USA. It's the greatest nation in the world, or at least it used to be. And I still believe that we can do that now. But we got to get more people standing up. We got to get more people voicing their concerns, not falling to this ideology.
Absolutely.
Now, here's something else I found interesting. We got a couple minutes left to go, but more than 2/3 of voters and parents say they're actually not worried about teachers indoctrinating kids, pushing a woke agenda on them. Do you believe that?
Absolutely not. I think our public school system has one goal right now, and it's not to increase reading proficiency. It's not to increase math proficiency. It is to create social justice warriors who believe that our country is evil and everything about our country needs to be taken down and destroyed. That is the single focus of our public school systems.
And something else I found interesting was in the research for this podcast, again, I find one side, the left, who are basically saying that, oh, this is all Republicans' fault. Republicans are keeping us from being able to do what we want to do, to teach our kids, to make them aware. What do you have to say about that?
So it's crazy thinking that, because from my own point of view, I think Republicans are the one who are fighting for this freedom. I think Republicans are the one who want people to be able to look at an issue and are asking people to look at both sides of an issue before forming their opinion. Right. Whereas the left wants to teach you the correct opinion and want you to follow along with it regardless of what other viewpoints say. I think that, my fight is specifically for the kids. I think our kids need to be protected right now more than ever.
They do.
I think once a person turns 18, if they choose a certain lifestyle, if they choose a certain way to conduct themselves or live, more power to them. I don't think anybody should be disrespected. I don't think anyone should be judged for the choices that they make for their own lives. But I think our kids need to be protected now more than ever.
I tend to agree 150,000%. And hopefully we can get some more people that are going to stand up and express their concerns and speak their minds. Go after the schools. If you believe something is being taught incorrectly, if you think a teacher is out of line, you should be able to go to the school district. You should be able to go to the principal, the school board, your local state representatives, congressmen, women. Go to them, speak up, don't stand back, because when you stand back and you fall down, you may never get back up again.
Absolutely.
So speak your mind, and don't be afraid to do it. All right,
absolutely.
Lori Korzen, it has been a pleasure speaking with you on this subject today.
Well, thank you so much for listening.
All right, thank you, and I know you and I will probably get together again.
Sounds great.
Thanks for listening to the Woke What? Cancel This podcast and Episode 3. Just a reminder, our opinions are ours and ours alone. You're welcome to form your own opinion. And, of course, our statistics are based on facts. You can do the research yourself. If you'd like to be a guest on our next podcast, you can simply email WokeWhatCancelThis@yahoo.com.